So we're back with some more mini set cards to review. Today we've got some Hunter cards that were revealed by Dane. We've got some Mage cards that were revealed by hsguru.com. And as you can see, a shiny new legendary here, bringing back some Hunter synergy stuff with Product 9. Also, take a look at this real quick. This will add some nice context. Bargain Bin is a new secret for Hunter. After your opponent plays a minion, spell, or weapon, draw a card of the other two types. So potentially some card draw here for Secret Hunter. But perhaps more importantly is Product 9. This guy is, I think, actually kind of cool. This is just a big pile of stuff and allows you to effectively cheat a lot of mana into play, because this could, of course, recast up to 5 secrets, which can definitely cause some headaches and nightmares for your opponent. If we look at the secret package in standard right now, keep in mind, like, Ice Trap is in standard. That could be really frustrating. Freezing Trap has always been just a great card. You got Bargain Bin in there now, maybe for some card draw. You got Bait and Switch to protect your Product 9. They try to trade into it. Explosive Trap for some face damage, you know, some kind of sneaky stuff like Hidden Meaning is probably not as useful. Rat Trap could get you a board, etc. You still have some synergy stuff too, like Titan Force Traps to get you more secrets, Costume Singer to get you more secrets. I don't know if Harmonica Soloist makes the cut, but I do know that Starstrung Bow is potentially a really good payoff for this as well. So between like Bow and Product 9, I think you have some really nice rewards for running a secret package. And remember, this doesn't have to be an entire deck. It's not like, oh, this has to be Secret Hunter necessarily. This can be something you slot into other cores and packages as well. Kind of, you know, you got some spell synergy potential stuff. You could maybe even make this work in Highlander, because there's enough like extra resource secret generations and some secret tutoring, as we saw. So this could be something that slots in. It's not like a full-on commitment. And then there are actually, as we see, some really nice big rewards. If you're trying to play this on turn 5, you know, it's not necessarily likely that you're going to have 5 secrets by any means. Maybe even having like 3 might be a little bit of a challenge. You kind of play 1 on 2, play 1 on 3, play 1 on 4, maybe 2 on 4 technically. Could get to 4 secrets, but they won't always all have triggered, because this has to, of course, be triggered. So, you know, I don't know that 2 is good enough for Product 9 to feel good on turn 5. I think 3 might be, though. That's kind of like cheating 6 mana into play on top of your 4/4. Can be really disruptive as well. And then, of course, later in the game, if this comes down because you didn't find it on time or whatever, you're probably going to get 4 or 5 in most cases there, assuming you run enough of a secret package. So I think Product 9 as a play actually is outstanding a lot of the time. Just really disruptive, really annoying, a pile of stuff. I think some of the secret cards are really good still. So that gives me hope here. The problem has always been for secret decks, the secrets are sometimes bad. Like, playing a 2-mana secret doesn't always feel very good. So will secrets be the thing that hold back the secret package? I don't know. I think Hunter has been one class that's successfully done some secret synergy stuff in the past. Even with the bow, fairly recently that card has seen some play. So I think there's a chance that Product 9 is actually a nice little linchpin for that secret package, and it does nudge it into play. Thanks to how much this can do. So moving on to Bargain Bin. This is a new secret. Could this be what, you know, gets it there? I don't think so, actually. This 2-mana spell, of course. After your opponent plays a minion, spell, or weapon, draw a card of the other 2 types. So typically that's going to activate, I would say most commonly on minion, particularly in the early game. So you're often going to draw a spell and a weapon off this, which I guess in Secret Hunter for the Starstrung Bow, this is actually a pretty cool way to tutor into your bow while also actually discounting the bow as well. So that is pretty cool. Decks outside of a full secret package, though, of course, may not have as many weapons or weapons they're really desiring to find. It's very unlikely the opponent plays a weapon first into your Bargain Bin to draw you a minion and a spell, which might be the more desirable result outside of a secret package. But, you know, I do actually think the weapon's pretty cool anyway. More importantly, perhaps, though, is that this does actually get activated super consistently. Like, we're talking about triggered secrets for things like your Product 9. You need to make sure they're actually going off. It's kind of impossible for the opponent to play around Bargain Bin. Any card except, I guess, locations, hero cards, whatever, are going to activate this one. So it is nice to know you're going to get some secrets triggered and get things moving for a lot of these discounts and bonus synergy effects. I'm just not sure that drawing 2 cards for 2 mana is such a good upside that it's necessarily worth it. And I know that sounds silly because, like, you know, historically 2 for 3 mana was always a good model with Arcane Intellect, but there's kind of 2 problems for me on this one. Number one, it is delayed, like you're not drawing these cards immediately. So, you know, Arcane Intellect, you get the cards right now, you can do things with them right now. So if you top deck this card on turn 8 or something and you need cards desperately, Bargain Bin is waiting a turn for your opponent to do anything. So the delayed draw is a downside. Also, of course, you know, a Hunter is typically a deck that cares a little bit more about tempo, especially if you're trying to play this stuff in the early to mid game. You don't necessarily need the cards right then either, right? You're hopefully probably trying to contribute more to the board, play those freezing traps and bait and switches and stuff to keep you equal on board or sometimes potentially even ahead. And this one feels like it's kind of going in the wrong direction. This is one you're going to value later rather than earlier. So I think both of those could be limiters here for the Bargain Bin. Of course, if a secret package is good enough, this probably just makes the cut because you're going to be weaving in so many secrets anyway and just trying to run a high enough density of them that, you know, you're going to need some reload. I just don't think this is like a star standout secret necessarily. This isn't the reason you're running the package. It's just a good fitting, let's say solid fitting option for the deck. Moving on to the Wilderness Pack. This is a new cycle of cards they teased. These pack cards are going to add 5 random somethings to your hand across various classes, and then you'll discard them at the end of your turn. So 1 mana spell getting 5 things, but you got to play these things now if you want to actually get those resources, which, you know, this could be a really nice little reload tool. Something like a Highlander deck's just got to squeeze cards in. Sometimes they need to fill mana late in a game. You play this with 8, 9, 10 mana, right? You're going to be able to play 2 or 3 beasts at least out of your Wilderness Pack to kind of scrap together a turn, which is nice when you're in desperation mode, but it's not really ideal usually, right? You're not going to get a lot of beasts that are like synergistic or perfect for the moment. You're going to just get a big pile of random stuff, and some beasts are pretty bad. You know, they need like specific little interactions or synergies to really feel good, so they're just not going to fit well into various game states or board states. So are you going to be excited to just kind of fill your turn with garbage? I don't think so, but there is still the importance of those desperation moments in cards. I think they're nice to fall back on. Would a like more, you know, spell token beast hunter right now run this? I don't think they'd make room for this, right? They have enough ways to make beasts and kind of refill their hand anyway with stuff, as I've played a little bit of spell token hunter these last couple months. I don't know that I want this, right? Like 5 random beasts just isn't good enough for me in that deck. So it's finding a home for this that's a weird spot. I think a Highlander deck could maybe do it, but other than that, random beasts, I think the quality on average is just going to be too low. So fairly limited in its use case, despite theoretically giving you a lot of resources. They're just not resources you really want. So moving on to Mage, the Darkmoon Magician. This is a 3 mana 2/4 with elusive. Again, reminder, elusive means can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. I don't know how long I'm going to have to say that, but just for now we will. And after you cast a spell, cast a random spell that costs 1 more. My goodness, that's kind of intriguing, right? Like, I love how fun that sounds, you know? Play this on 3, you hope it sticks because of elusive. On turn 4, you play some nice big 4-cost spell, and then you hope to get like a 5-cost spell that's really helpful. But as we know, given that these are random spells, given that these aren't targeted at enemies, they don't have that nice little bias to them, then boy, this is just not going to be worth it, right? Like spending 3 mana for this potential upside later that's often actually just going to backfire or just kind of do nothing for you. I just don't see why you'd be doing that. You know, this introduces chaos, but I don't think this introduces advantage. Very rarely. Number one, is this actually even going to stick? There's just a lot of rush minions, and if you try to force this in the same turn, you know, play a 3 into a 7 mana spell late in the game or whatever, it's like, okay, yeah, I can force an 8 mana spell, but that still has moments where it backfires, as we know from like Yogg boxes and stuff in Mage, or Yogg puzzle box, whatever it's called right now. Yogg in a box? I don't know what it's called. You get the idea. There can be some big backfire moments. So I just don't see how these random spells turn into anything useful or productive or reliable. Not to mention, no minion mage right now seems to be the one who cares about all this big chaotic spell stuff. And they wouldn't run this because it's a minion. So I don't even know where this would fit organically anyway. So bad fit, bad result. I just don't see how Darkmoon Magician makes any sense. Moving on to buy one, get one freeze. It's a pun. It's a 3-mana frost spell. This one allows you to freeze a minion and summon a frozen copy of it. So this is kind of like the priest spell that we saw yesterday. That one would summon the copy and then attack. Some people were comparing that one to reverberations yesterday, by the way, which I understand from a removal standpoint, sort of, and from a copying your opponent's thing standpoint, sort of, but certainly doesn't have the upside of copying your own things like reverberations did, the priest spell yesterday. Now, this card, like reverberations, does have the upside of copying your own thing. So, for instance, you could use this with Sif in Mage to copy your Sif, much like you might with reverberations. So there is that additional upside on buy one get one freeze that I don't think existed for the priest spell, since that was enemies only. We talked about that card plenty yesterday. But does that give buy one get one freeze enough upside? It's interesting, right? Because one of the upsides of copying things has historically been Titans. Like, you copy your opponent's Titan and then you get to use their abilities. The problem is with this, you can't copy Titans effectively, because as soon as you do, it's frozen and you can't use the abilities on a frozen Titan. They need to have their attack phase up. So that's kind of not an upside on this. Stalling out your opponent's card is like, sometimes useful if you can stall into enough removal. That's kind of intriguing. We, of course, like freezes for that. But I don't know, man, this like frozen copy, I just don't think it's going to be worth it enough. Yes, I know this, people start to snowball these ideas, of like super high value minions and like, oh, these crazy death rattles and stuff. I just don't think those moments line up often enough. I think if anything, there's worlds where just like playing this on turn 3 and just like slowing down their 3/3 and making a 3/3 is okay, just so you kind of stay even on board for a little bit and slow them down. I think that's actually more interesting for this card than kind of the crazy high roll, like imaginary minion situations where I just have the perfect thing that I copy. I think those moments are really hard to line up. So could this be useful in that kind of early tempo keep up stage in just a no minion mage deck where you just need enough spells? Maybe as a way to generate bodies for that sort of deck, but I think the frozen aspect is definitely a bit of a downside. I think in many cases you might just rather run something that can remove those sorts of threats as opposed to just stall them out, because you're probably just creating problems for later and not really getting a ton of upside on the frozen copy yourself. So I'd say limited situational sort of utility on this one. And then our last mage card is Malfunction, a 2-mana arcane spell. This one deals 3 damage split among all enemy minions, and then if your deck has no minions, you get to deal 3 more. So this is basically, well, not even really an arcane missiles plus, because this can't go face. It is limited to minions, but in a no minion deck, this is a pretty good early game cleanup sort of card. And kind of like I was talking about with buy one get one freeze, where I wish this just kind of killed the thing sometimes. Malfunction probably does kill the thing a lot of the time. Your opponent tries to play a couple early game, like 1 into 2 drop. Malfunction probably tidies them up really well. And it's actually, in many cases, probably a benefit that this doesn't go face when you're using this, of course, as an early board clear cleanup, because you're getting more total damage per mana cost. It's actually tidying up boards. We've seen plenty of like warrior spells in this vein, where we've had these kind of ping style effects going off to clear up opponents' boards, and those have always felt pretty good. I guess Warlock has had some of these historically as well. So this does look like a good tool for no minion mages to make sure they don't fall behind on board too early against these sort of swarmier decks. And I would say even if you play, often you want to get your weapon down on 2, your keyboard, this is probably even okay on turn 3 very often, because 6 damage will still tidy up a few things even going into turn 3. So I do think Malfunction packs enough punch on 2 and enough of a synergy fit here for no minion mage that it's pretty cool. The problem right now, of course, is that no minion mage is not exactly a high tier deck. It's, middling at best. I don't know if this is enough to push that into meta relevance, but no minion mage is the sort of thing that can get better as more cards are introduced into the pool. So as we get into a second and third set throughout the year, definitely keep an eye on that deck and this card in particular to feel like a good part of the puzzle there. So finally here we have the Pro Gamer, a card named after me. I've been waiting forever. It's finally here. It's a 2-mana 2/3 battle cry. Challenge your opponent to a game of rock, paper, scissors. the winner draws 2 cards. And man, this is silly and fun. The way this works is you play this down, you pick your choice, whichever one you want. You always pick scissors, right? And then you hit in turn. Nothing happens for the opponent until you hit in turn. Once you hit in turn, it's kind of like the suspicious cards. It goes to their turn. It's going to pop up a choice for them. They pick their choice. If you tie, nothing happens. If you win, you'll draw 2 cards. But unfortunately, it's your opponent's turn, so your card draw is delayed. If they win, they get the cards right away. And that is a big downside on Pro Gamer because they can play with those cards right now and you can't. So I don't think this card would be good anyway because it's just like effectively draw 0.66 repeating cards on average on your 2-drop because you only win a third of the time, right? Which is not great. That's already a problem. But the fact that your opponent draws first when they win actually makes it actively punishing a third of the time, which that's just another crazy downside. So there will be no one running this. Like, it's fine. It might be an arena. It might be randomly generated sometimes. Sure, that'll be great moments, but no one will ever play this in an actual real competitive Hearthstone deck as far as I'm concerned. So all that said, let's go ahead and do some quick reviews. Product 9 is a 4-star card. Bargain Bin is a 3-star card. Wilderness Pack is a 2-star card. Darkmoon Magician is a 2-star card. Buy one, get one freeze is a 3-star card. Malfunction is a 4-star card. Pro Gamer is a 1-star card. And that's it for part 2 of the mini set card review. Let me know what you think of these cards. Does Secret Hunter have a chance? Is any of this Mage stuff gonna be any good? I want to hear all those thoughts and more in the comments below. Stay tuned over the next few days for more reviews. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. This is where I'll be uploading Hearthstone stuff in the foreseeable future. So if you want to see some deck videos, more card reviews, etc., drop that sub. Thank you much for your support as always. And until next time, game on.